Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of True Scary Stories. Tonight's story is called A Chronicle of Terror. My sister Rebecca and I visited my grandmother for 1 week each summer when we were kids. She owned an old house on the outskirts of town. The address was 666 Carlisle Lane, an excellent example of both coincidence and foreshadowing. Though my grandmother wasn't religious, she considered herself spiritual. Supernatural things fascinated her. She also exhibited pack rat tendencies, odds and ends collected over a lifetime of visits to antique dealers, estate sales, and New Orleans filled her loft. The attic cajoled our curiosity during our stays at Grandma's. However, she designated it off limits and kept the door leading to it locked at all times. She said people shouldn't play with the room's toys. One night, while Grandma slept, Rebecca had obtained the key to the attic door. We snuck from our rooms and unlocked it. We did our best not to make a sound, but one of my steps elicited a squeak from the upper part of the staircase. Rebecca used a glare to chide me before we continued upward. My sister flicked the room's light switch. The 40-watt frosted bulb produced a dim spot in the attic center, leaving the perimeter's shadows dark and undisclosed. I felt excitement for the forbidden and trepidation for the unknown. Rebecca's firm grip on my arm expressed her feelings. Tables lined the walls, propping up various colorful, misshaped, and mysterious objects, articles, and artifacts. They also exhibited dusty books, worn garments, chipped statues, necklaces, medallions, and ornaments. One corner housed biological knickknacks, small bones, mummified chicken feet, and glass jars filled with an entire cast of reptiles and insects. A couple of Ouija boards and a black leather-bound book sat in another corner. I attempted to pick up a planchette, but Rebecca told me it would be like playing with matches. I turned my attention to the book. A Chronicle of Witchcraft embossed its cover. I opened the book to its table of contents, which listed such chapter headings as potions, brews, charms, spells, and necromancy. I asked my sister what necromancy was, but she didn't know. We heard a door close somewhere downstairs. Our grandmother was up and about. My sister ran to the light switch and shut it. We sat in the dark silence, waiting for Grandma to go back to bed. A nervous tension hung in the air as we sat amongst the attic's ghastly trinkets. Rebecca and I crept downstairs once the coast was clear and returned to our respective bedrooms. My sister failed to notice that A Chronicle of Witchcraft was still in my possession. I turned on the side table lamp, climbed into bed, and consumed the book and its mystical mysteries. I read the chapter on necromancy first. It instructed the reader on the use of black magic to summon spirits of the dead as both apparitions to foretell the future or attack another person. One passage provided several incantations one could utter to invoke an evil spirit. I failed to resist the temptation and recited them aloud 3 times, then waited with bated breath. Nothing happened. I don't remember falling asleep. I awoke. The clock read 3:15 a.m. My sixth sense told me someone was in the hallway. A door slammed, the one leading to the attic, causing me to jump. I called for my grandmother. There was no response. Rebecca failed to answer my calls as well. I rose from bed, tiptoed to the door, and inched it open. I peeked into the hallway before checking in on Rebecca and Grandma. They were both sound asleep. Returning to my room, I froze in my tracks as the attic door creaked open behind me. Racing to my room and barricading myself inside appeared the rational course of action. Instead, I shamed myself into turning around and finding no burglars or axe-wielding maniacs. I did notice the loft's light was on when closing the door. We didn't leave it on earlier in the night, I was sure. My sister returned to take another look, perhaps. I went to retrieve the witchcraft book from my room to return it to the attic and shut the light. I couldn't find it, though. I combed the room for several minutes. Wary of my grandmother waking, I would close the light and look for the book the following day. I climbed the stairs, however, and found the book lying on the table in the corner. It made sense. My sister checked on me, saw I had the book, and returned it, but left the light on. I flicked the switch, satisfied with the explanation. The bulb went out, but it also exploded into 100 pieces, causing the loft to turn pitch black. The attic door slammed shut at the exact moment. I didn't touch a step on the way down the stairs. I leaned into the door after turning the knob. It failed to budge, no matter how hard I pushed. I panicked, battering the door with a tight fist. No help arrived. The tables above vibrated. Their vibrations turned into bangs, like they were being lifted high then dropped. The sound of them overturning cascaded down the staircase, followed by that of a single object tumbling behind it. Though I couldn't see, I felt the object land at my feet. I bent over, wrapping a hand around a leather-bound book, one whose title I didn't want to know. Thinking it was a chronicle of witchcraft terrorized me, though less than the sound of a squeak near the top of the staircase, followed by descending footsteps. I let out a primal scream and began beating the door with both hands, but without mercy. I remember nothing else of the event, as I must have fainted. Grandma and Rebecca found me in the morning, crumpled at the stairs bottom. She scolded me for defying her rules. I apologized for my disobedience and for the attic's destruction, though upon inspection, every table and item stood in its rightful place, including a chronicle of witchcraft. It sat in the corner, opened to the page containing the incantation for necromancy.